Hi, everybody. It's Andy Bachman again with the Prioritize or Perish homegrown webcast on climate resilience and adaptation for infrastructure. Just putting out another quick one here on the tail end of a conference I participated in last week in Columbus, Maryland. It was put on by the Battelle Memorial Institute, one of the companies, maybe the main company that staffs the national labs and staffs my lab as well, Idaho National Lab. Here you can see the web page, a piece of the web page they use to promote the conference, as well as the lower right image of the hotel in Columbus, Ohio. That was just a great place to hold this thing, the Hyatt Regency. And from my much decorated badge, all the different duties that I had, I was on the steering committee, so helped put it together with Battelle colleagues and folks from other national labs and elsewhere. Yeah, I was busy during this thing for sure. I like the way they kicked it off. The very first day, they talked about a competition they had held with high school students to see who could come up with perhaps the most high impact climate resilient solution. And they said it wasn't close in the end, that this young lady, Ashley from California, with her seed bomb concept for eelgrass in order to shore up eroded areas with a plant that can really help stabilize the soil and have it distributed in such a way that it's pretty straightforward to do, not expensive, and high efficacy. She was great, and I think I saw her throughout the conference attending different talks and different presentations. She may be an intern at Battelle coming up pretty soon. My favorite talk of all the ones that were there was of the less technical nature, and it was by this lady, Sweta Chakrabarti, who is the CEO for North America of We Don't Have Time, a climate awareness group trying to get the message out that we've got to move more quickly, both on mitigation as well as adaptation and resilience. This is one of the slides that she had. It has a bunch of questions for folks to think about when they're putting together a talk or trying to get a message across to somebody. And I won't read those out loud, but suffice it to say, there was this one part that she mentioned where she said, you know, the way drugs are developed, therapies are developed, and they're rigorously tested on select groups of people in very controlled environments way before they ever get out and are marketed to the general public. Well, she said, you should think about your messages, assuming you're trying to have high impact in the world and really change the game, change the conversation. You should package and handle and test these messages very carefully. She didn't say focus groups, or at least I didn't hear her say that, but I had a sense that that's what she was talking about, that once you have your story down, PowerPoint, white paper, talk, that you get small groups of people together, the types of folks that you want to move, try it out on them, get their feedback, find out that it wasn't perfect or far from it, and then revise it, rinse and repeat until you're ready to take it out, and not waste your time trying to convey a message that either doesn't land on people at all, or even worse, has the opposite effect of what you were trying to convey. Thought that was really great. I'm going to try to team more with Sweta in the future because I need her help, and we all do, I think, too. All the sciencey and technology people at conferences like this. Just want to say, as a conference, I had a chance to meet a bunch of different people. As you know, the routine of taking selfies here, we see a young man from Ukraine who's studying environmental science in the United States. Great to meet him. In the center top there is Mark Peters, the former lab director of the Idaho National Lab, who's now the director for Battelle of all of the national labs from their point of view, all the ones that they staff. He's just a great guy. And a gentleman from Africa, Mabuya, who is working on the agrarian issues of climate change and how to make agriculture more resilient or adapt certain techniques so that it continue to produce the food the world needs. He has a big job. I'm going to try to be in touch with him more often now too, based in Florida, I believe. The bottom picture is just a group that formed organically of a handful of folks from construction companies and science engineering companies and different types of standards groups. And even Doug Parsons from America Adapts, a podcaster on climate adaptation, probably responsible for getting a significant percentage of people to the conference because they otherwise might not have known about it. That was really cool to see Doug, whose podcasts I listen to when I'm at the gym, meet him in real life and potentially talk about teaming with him, getting messages out in the future as well. My other favorite presentation was from John Conger. I've co-written articles with him in the past. He is the founder or co-founder of the Center for Climate and Security, and he just gave a real funny, hard-hitting, almost Jack Black level energy in a presentation he was giving about how we have to think, how the military thinks about climate adaptation and resilience, and how money gets allocated. It's not an easy process, and he made that painfully clear. I just put the slide down from the one below him as one that I really liked, about talking about cascading effects for those people that think about just one type of physical climate impact and have to be aware that wish it was that simple, but it's not that simple. And then lastly, on the right, I was part of a poster session where I got to put the infrastructure, climate adaptation, and resilience conceptual framework up on a board, along with a couple of provocative slides and a picture of a drowned version of Houston that flooded 3 times in 3 years at what were supposed to be once in 500-year events. A critique of that type of phraseology and a boost for using climate models to help project the future when many companies and organizations continue to look backward to try to understand what's coming at the future. I've talked about that on this series before. I will keep talking about it. Lastly, the Battelle conference this is the second one. It happens early in the year, in March in this case. But there's another conference with the word resilience in it that I'm also on steering committee for, and it's called Resilience Week. It's not fully climate focused or climate resilience focused yet, but it's starting to be, and it might become more so this coming year. I can imagine like using these two playing off each other and complementing each other. I have to make sure this happens. It's just an idea so far, but the idea that you have some energy and some ideas that get expressed in the late winter, early spring, and then can keep some momentum going on those things presenting in DC in the late fall or the early winter, and back and forth you might go, really helping sustain some messages that you're trying to keep alive. Lastly, okay, I said lastly. This is really lastly, and it's just some contact information for me for the series that's been going on now for maybe half a year. Again, very homemade. Don't expect high production values. Don't expect something like Doug Parsons' America Adapts, for example. But I think some of the messages, some of the information in these short videos could be rather helpful as you and me and this lady here with the crystal ball try to better understand what's coming at us and what we need to do to put ourselves in better shape before it arrives. Okay, that's all I've got. Thanks for hearing me out, and bye for now.